Who are you? Yes, who are you?
Who am I? Do you want the professional answer or do you want the personal answer?
A bit of both.
A little bit of both. I am your sister-in-law.
That's right.
Yeah. And I am also a teacher.
Yes.
Yes. And I have the 6th grade right now.
6th grade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're so small.
How old are they? Like 11, 12?
That's the year they're turning 11 in Norwegian schools.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've had like middle school age before, and
Yeah.
they suddenly moved me down.
Yeah.
And I forgot how small they are. They're so small. They know so little, Dan. They know so little.
What sort of stuff do you teach?
I teach a little bit of everything. So this year I don't have that much, but last year I was teaching a lot of things that I didn't know a lot of before. So then I think I had math, social studies, a little bit of science,
Okay.
a little bit of everything.
Okay, a bit of a mix.
Yeah, a little bit of a mix, and that's when I found out how much Google and ChatGPT are my friend.
Nice.
That's helpful when you haven't had like you're teaching subjects that you haven't learned at university.
Yeah.
So like science I didn't have, and social studies I didn't have.
Okay.
So I have math, English, and some other stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had to Google a lot of stuff.
Well,
Ask me a question and be like, where can I find that out together? We're gonna Google
It's a form of teaching. It's a form of teaching. Everyone.
It is.
Yeah.
And they learn how to search and find out things and check facts. Yeah.
We have lots of interesting conversations. We don't
Yes.
we don't record them typically.
We should.
We should. And I thought maybe this is the time we actually try doing that, because we talk a bit about science.
Yes, we do.
From what you do as a teacher, because you do a bit of science within your teaching with your 6th grade.
Yeah. And there is stuff that, like, I remember when I first met you and you first started before you were a part of the family, and I understood like you had a really cool job. And in the beginning I was like, oh my gosh, and I'd ask like, how was your day at work? And I think in the beginning, for like a really short span of time, I tried to like just nod and act like I understood.
Really?
Yeah, for really like maybe a month or two
Okay.
max, where I tried to like not ask stupid questions. And then I thought, oh no, I'm not going to keep this up. So then I thought, Dan, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Explain it to me. But then I learned a lot.
I think I also learn a lot, because there's a lot of people that I speak to in my world were sort of in the same world.
Yeah, right.
You say stuff and you think this is completely normal.
Yeah.
But then you speak to someone that's outside that world and you're like, some of the things we do are kind of nuts.
No, but it's true though.
It's seriously true.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've had having conversations about you, particularly around sort of like how we do science.
Yeah.
Is that like, we think it's just so normal when you just when you talk with your own colleagues, and then it's only when you're speaking to a layperson who's still very smart but in a different field that you're like, that's sort of weird, a lot of things that we do.
Yeah. And certain things that you guys are sure, like that's a given. Yeah. Everyone knows that. And then someone who hasn't talked a lot about like that kind of topic or knows that world is like, does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, because I was thinking about, like, I saw this post, and when I was teaching science to my little cute 6th graders and was Googling a lot of stuff, I remember there was one chapter was like, we were doing a lot of experiments, which was their favorite.
Really?
Yeah. Oh, they love it. Suddenly
it's interesting.
Yeah, they hate science, but once a week we do like a day where we've had experiment.
Okay.
And then you try to find something that looks a little bit cool for the kids.
Is it like sort of the physical nature of we're doing a thing? What is it about experiments they find interesting?
I think it's and that can be like, then you can go deep into like all the discussion about like the format of school, how like empty vessel being poured knowledge into, which is like disappearing more and more.
Yeah.
And now it's more like them finding out something like the unknown, and that they're actively a part of it. And also I think the visual as well. Like obviously if I do something.
What sort of experiments are you doing?
You know, you start with like the basic stuff where like, just anything where you mix things and there's a reaction, like the volcano that I remember I grew up with.
Classic
volcano, and they still love it. They're a sucker for it. I thought that was outdated. But anything where you can see a visual or where you're going to like keep track of something and see how it changes and they're not sure.
So before this, they were kind of a bit ambivalent about science.
Yes. So science is one of their least favorite subjects.
Okay. Why do you think that is?
I think it's all about maybe how you present it.
Okay.
I think maybe like if someone's teaching it and it's like, okay, open up your books and read this.
Yeah.
Unless it's presented where you have like a hook to like grab them in and like, let's wonder, let's think about this together.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, okay, we're learning about the cell membrane. I don't care about, and you have to remember all how a cell's made up or.
Yeah.
So, but they love the thing where they have to figure something out and find something out.
Okay. So you sort of set it as a challenge.
Yes.
Okay.
And like the mystery around it. So I can play on a bit of the theatrics and like the drama of like, we don't know what's going to happen? Or like, or why does this happen?
Yeah.
So no, they love that.
Okay.
And I was wondering though, because I was talking with a teacher friend who is a few years ahead of me, and she likes to kind of really challenge the students to try and figure out like actual new stuff, not just copy old experiments.
Okay.
So she wants to like they have gone to like competitions about different stuff, both within like making robots out of Lego and like stuff like that.
Okay.
And then she wanted to do the same thing within science. And I was wondering if there ever was like a kid or like a teacher where you feel like maybe we've discovered something new, or maybe we actually have an experiment in class where they're like, this is maybe something that we're
This has actually happened. Oh, so a couple of weeks ago, there was a kid, I think he was about 12, the same age as students, who did a little bit of an experiment in his local river about microplastics.
Ooh.
And he found something really interesting. I think it was a he, could have been a she.
Yeah.
I just knew it was a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
And it ended up being published in a scientific journal. So I think well, I mean, the kid was helped along with older scientists, but the data collection was done by the kid, because the kid was asking the question, how much plastics are there in my local river?
Yeah.
This is a new thing called citizen science.
Citizen science? I haven't heard of that before.
It's this idea that, like, firstly, that there's so much stuff. There's only so many scientists around and only so many resources to collect data.
Yeah.
There's so many things, like, particularly in the world around us.
Yeah.
How many different birds are in the area, or how much pollution is in an area.
Yeah.
And then citizens are collecting data. You can often use stuff like smartphones to sort of say, I saw a bird, or here's where I saw some rubbish, or whatever. And you can collect data this way. I think it's a really good way of actually getting people involved in science, and you just collect some really interesting data. So it is possible to do this kind of stuff.
That's really cool. Because those are the kind of stories I want to like show my kids. I try to find, sort through all the trash that's on YouTube and try to find stories where it is kids that have found out something that's actually.
I'll just send you the paper.
No, send it.
Kid. Yeah.
And then they really get excited because they imagine like, oh, scientists, and they have a picture of what that entails.
Yeah.
And then we say like, oh, but you guys can discover something that maybe no one else has talked about that actually can be helpful.
Yeah.
Like the friend I was talking about, they had something about like pollution or something about garbage on the roads, something that was really relevant and helpful for a problem in Norway.
Yeah.
And they had found a solution and won a prize for it.
Like a science prize?
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was like a science prize. Or I think was within that category.
The Research Council of Norway does support like a young scientist prize.
Yes.
So it could be.
That could have been it.
Could have been it. Yeah.
But if someone was actually going to like found out like, I think this might be a cool idea. Maybe I've discovered something cool. How would you like check? Like if they wanted to be like, maybe I can publish this, like how would you check?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've never actually thought about that. I guess you could reach out to local experts in your area going, hey, I think I found this thing.
Yeah.
Any scientist would be so psyched to hear that kids or younger people are interested in research. And I mean, you have to be a bit of a monster.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I'm going to ignore that email. But I think people would be very interested in that sort of stuff.
Oh, cool.
I guess, there are various ways you can search the scientific literature to go, has been discovered yet.
Yeah.
But I think more and more scientists are becoming more aware of this idea of citizen science, that we can actually get people.
Citizen science, like just like a general concept of science that happens that you check up like locally. Is that what it means? Or is it like more like a slogan name for something?
It's more this idea that the general citizens can contribute to data collection.
Okay, good. Then I understand it more.
So it's this, using the idea of people checking for pollution, or taking, taking measurements in sort of their own local area,
right?
Because it takes a lot of time to go around and collect samples from the different areas.
Yeah.
If you could sort of go around, with a smartphone, everyone has a lab in the pocket.
Mm-hmm.
They can go take photos of stuff, so it works quite well. But I want to meet your friend. This sounds
she's amazing. She's an all-listen. She's just everything she does when she posts things. I'm like, I don't know, but she loves it.
Yeah.
So she loves pushing the kids, and she has like the same kind of age that I do. I think she has like maybe seventh graders.
There is one thing that she would love.
Yeah.
So there is a journal, a legit scientific journal called Frontiers for Young Minds.
Mm.
And this isn't a journal for young minds to publish in, but it's a journal where classes, young people do peer review of papers.
Oh.
Yeah? So what happens is a scientist will write a paper aimed at either, I think it's like a 8 to 12 or 12 to 16, one of those two.
Yeah.
you write a paper on your area of expertise.
Right.
And then...
Normal scientists writing a paper.
Normal scientists writing
a paper. Okay, yeah.
And then this is, along with a scientific editor, it's peer-reviewed by classroom kids.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
You can do it with your kids, or you could show it with your kids.
Yeah.
And I did this once.
Ooh.
I did this paper.
With one of your papers or with one of those that work with you?
With one of my papers.
Okay.
So I wrote a paper with a colleague who's based in Perth now.
Yeah.
And it was peer-reviewed by, I think it was a class of 12 to 14-year-olds. And it was super interesting because usually with peer review, it's done in a very sort of serious way.
Does peer review, do they write, like, is there a questionnaire afterwards? Or, like, is it peer review where they, like, underline what they don't like? Or what is peer review?
A bit of both.
A little bit of both.
So when it came to these students, they would comment, oh, this part I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Which is really good because I was trying to write to an audience of 14-year-olds, which I don't normally do.
No, it's tricky.
So it's a different sort of mindset for communicating to younger people. And there were sections that I didn't understand that. And I reread it and going, that probably isn't a bit clearer. So I wrote it in a way. I think it's so important. It's not about dumbing down the language, but it's about doing the language in a more accessible way.
No, right.
And there were other comments like, oh, you should talk more about this.
Okay.
Or I like that you did a figure here. Maybe do some more figures.
Oh, that's so helpful.
Which is great because these peer reviewers were my target audience, which are young science interested students. And it was a fascinating process. And I think it was like 5 years ago. But the journal still goes.
Yeah.
I think I had a few colleagues that have submitted some stuff there.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a really good exercise in trying to think about how to communicate your work to different audiences.
That is tricky to know. Like, I mean, when I just went from being a teacher to like middle school age down to the other, knowing what do you know from before? Like, what do I have to explain? Like, what's the level at? Yeah. That's super tricky. So like, that's amazing that they have that where you can like tweak it so that it hits right.
Yeah. So it was a really nice experience. I think it was typically with peer review, you might have anywhere from like 2 to 5. If you're 5, if you're very unlucky, because you have 5 different people telling you you're wrong in 5 different ways. But then here was like a classroom. So it was sort of set, all right, for our science teaching, we're going to review a paper. Let's talk about what you like about it, what you don't like about it.
There's good learning in that.
Really good learning. So it's good learning for everyone. And this paper is free to anyone to access.